Hey Magic the Gathering enthusiasts, welcome to our channel. In today's video, I'm going to be exploring the exhilarating playstyle known as Aggro. Get ready to tap into your inner aggressor as we discuss effective strategies and tips to dominate your opponents with a relentless onslaught. Now, before we begin, let's define what it means to be aggro in Magic. Aggro is short for aggressive, which refers to a playstyle that focuses on overwhelming your opponents through swift and relentless attacks. Aggro decks are typically built around low-cost, efficient creatures and aggressive game plans. In this segment, we'll explore the key characteristics of an aggro deck. Speed is paramount in any aggro deck. We aim to establish an early board presence and put pressure on our opponents from the get-go. To achieve this, we prioritize low mana cost creatures and spells that allow us to quickly deploy threats. Keep in mind, we don't want our opponents to get to turn 4. Efficiency and consistency are crucial. Aggro decks rely on the streamlined collection of creatures, spells, and supporting cards that work together synergistically. We want to ensure each card contributes to our game plan, maximizing our chances of victory. Now that we understand the fundamentals of aggro, let's move on to building our very own aggressive deck. Here are some key considerations to keep in mind. Creatures are the backbone of any aggro deck. Look for creatures with low mana cost, high power, and great abilities. We don't want just any ability, not evasive abilities like flying, trample, or unblockable. We want abilities like haste, like on Fanatical Firebrand, or prowess, like on Soulscar Mage. Or we can just get abilities that aren't even keywords. For example, on Dragon Rage Channeler, this card can grow very fast and is very cost effective for what it does. We want to include a variety of removal spells and combat tricks to maintain control over the battlefield. Cards like Lightning Bolt or Lightning Strike can help us remove obstacles and clear the way for our attackers, while also in the late game being direct damage to our opponent's face. It is also worth mentioning you can play cards that buff your creatures as well. Not every aggro deck is going to do this, and in fact very few will. But for example, in Standard, Mechanized Warfare was a card that was played to boost all your damage on all your red spells and abilities. Or, if you're playing Modern, Glistener Elf plays several instances, such as Groundswell, to kill you as early as turn 2. Pay attention to card synergies and tribal themes. Some aggro decks focus on a specific creature type or theme that enhances their effectiveness. Consider building around tribal synergies like goblins, vampires, or merfolks to amplify the power of your deck. This mainly applies to EDH. If you're looking for a good example of an aggro deck that's built like this, consider Krinko, Mob Boss. One thing to consider while deck building is also to adapt to your local metagame. The effectiveness of your aggro deck can vary depending on the playing environment. Take into account the dominant strategies and decks in your local metagame when fine-tuning your deck. Adjust your card choices and sideboard options accordingly to improve your chances of success. The key to aggro is to keep your mana curve low. Since aggro decks rely on quick and aggressive plays, you want to ensure that you have enough low-cost cards to maintain a relentless assault on your opponent. Now that you have your deck finished, it's time to hit the battlefield and demonstrate the power of aggro. Let's discuss some strategies to maximize your chances of victory. Firstly, mulligan wisely. Aggro decks heavily rely on an explosive start. If your initial hand lacks the necessary early game creatures and spells, don't be afraid to mulligan for a better chance of success. Pressure your opponents. Be constantly attacking and applying pressure. You force them into defensive plays and limit their ability to develop their own strategies. Efficiently use combat tricks. Aggro decks often include instant spells that grant temporary boosts and provide unexpected combat advantages. Think back to Soulscar Mage. The creature has prowess. That means that every time we play a non-creature spell, it buffs up. We can play 2 Lightning Bolts at instant speed to instantly buff our Soulscar Mage and get through for extra damage. Lastly, remember to maintain a healthy balance. While aggression is your primary focus, remember to keep an eye on your opponent's defenses. You want to avoid overextending or falling prey to board wipes or defensive strategies that can stall your advances. Now that we've talked a little bit about aggro decks and you have a grasp on them, let's delve into why you should consider playing it in the first place. While each playstyle has its merit, aggro offers unique advantages that can lead to thrilling gameplay and successful outcomes. Aggro decks provide a proactive playstyle. Instead of reacting to your opponent's moves, you take the initiative by aggressively attacking and applying pressure, and this allows you to dictate the pace of the game, forcing your opponents to respond to you. Because you're dictating the pace of the game, you can often disrupt your opponent's strategies. Once you're applying constant pressure, a lot of decks are forced to spend resources that they can't afford to stop you. Aggro is often budget friendly as well. Because we're playing such low cost creatures and spells, it usually means they're not going for much. You don't have to spend a fortune to get a very competitive deck. Aggro can be easier too to pilot if you're a beginner. The straightforward nature of aggro gameplay makes it a great starting point for new players. Aggro decks typically have a clear game plan, focusing on quick and aggressive attacks, allowing beginners to grasp the fundamentals while still enjoying a competitive playstyle. Remember, while aggro decks often may have many advantages, they also come with their own challenges. They require careful deck building, understanding of the metagame, and strategic decision making during gameplay. However, for those who enjoy a proactive and aggressive playstyle, aggro can provide an exhilarating and rewarding experience on the battlefield. And there you are, Magic players. You have your new aggro deck, and I hope you enjoy it. Let us know how it goes down in the comments, and look forward to our next video.